Welcome to Vedic Mathematics. This is base values classes. We are in phase 6 of this chase. Now we are in fact entering the domain of Vedic mathematics, science and technology, and in this discipline as well we are taking up the aspect of formats, values, compendium. Previously, we were in the domain of Vedic mathematics and we were taking up TCV dictionary aspect. Here we were focusing upon formulations, word formulations. Vedic mathematics, TCV dictionary, focusing upon formulations. Here we are on formats, values, compendium. Now here in this context we shall be focusing upon two particular phenomena of domain split spectrum and dimensional synthesis. Domain split spectrum has given us this sequential reach from single entity becoming a pair of entities, then coming to the stage of 5 entities, then to 12 entities, 29 entities, and it is here we had stopped at the previous chase, as this value 29 is equal to TCV value of formulation Brahma, overlord of real four space. Four space is a creator's space, and in this creator's space the representative regular body is hypercube 4, presiding deity is Lord Brahma, four-head Lord, and Lord Brahma is also the presiding deity of Sthapatya miring rod. The second concept which we are taking up is dimensional synthesis, and this dimensional synthesis gives us this tabulation that all dimensions of all orders, say linear order, spatial order, solid order, creative order, so on, zero order, negative linear order, negative spatial order, and so on. Any number of dimensions of any order, say if we are at the linear order, then single dimension gives us value 1, pair of dimensions gives us value 3, triple dimensions give us value 6, quadruple give us value 10, and so on. Now if we are in the spatial order, then we sequentially get single value giving us value 2, pair of 4, triple value 6, and like that in terms of this tabulation we are in a position to reach at the synthesis values of whole number of dimensions. But what we have to now visualize is that the source sutra, Ganita Sutra 1, complemented and supplemented by Ganita Upsutra 1, Eka Adhikain Purven, one more than the previous one, and Anurupain, symmetrical, following the form as it is framed. It is of value 34, and it is also of value 34. When this gets the value as a Brahma, then it comes to the value 40, and here when this Raf gets a full value gives us this, and here we get the value 42. These features have been before us, and the value one more than the previous one gives us a sequential order. It's a crumb. It is a crumb. It is a sequence. It is an order. Now this order, when it is, that it raises many sort of questions. It poses us various situations that whether order will continue infinitely, whether order transits and transforms into another order, whether this order has any limit at any steps, and when there is a transition and transformation from one order to another order, whether this transition as well will go infinitely or it will stop, and when if we take that it takes us of infinite steps, then the sequence of infinite steps itself becoming a one unit, one step, and when infinite infinities come into play, then how is it that whole organization, how the format would be of features and values, and it that way gives us a format of a Varg, the only formulation, structural key, structural component formulation adopted by Ganita Sutras of TCV value 14, and Varg we know is square. It is representative regular body of a 2 space, and value 14 is of the organization 2, 3, 4, 5, which is parallel to fourfold manifestation of hypercube 4. Creates a space which plays the role of a measure of a Sthapatya measuring rod. This that way brings to focus the format, a spatial format, a Varga, which has a pair of axes. And in this pair of axes, we are getting remanifestation when it takes us to H14, which would be nothing but 12, 13, 14 and 15, it would be giving us value 54. And it is this value 54 which gives us organization as 6:9, and it takes us to 6, 7, 8 and 9, where 6 space, self-referral dimension and Brahman origin, and so it gives us the value 69. That means it takes us from Surya to the Brahman domain. This way we have seen that the inherent sequence is leading us to a particular format. This format is having a focus upon the formulation Kram. Now this Kram goes Kram Shah. This order, this sequential order itself has its own sequential formulation, and this formulation is Shah. This Shah is a composition of Shah and A. These are of values 1 and 2. Therefore the sequence is 1 and 2 or 2 to 1, one more than the previous one, and simultaneously it takes us to 4 space, within which the 2 is a 1 and 1 is 2. Therefore ultimately the formats whose values we are putting in our compendium shall make an entry. So today we should make a special page. This page should be named Kram Shah, the order, sequential order itself in a sequential order format, and these formulations Kram and this formulation Kram Shah shall be made the top entries of this page. Then we should reach at the transcendental code values, and these transcendental code values will coming to 13 Kram, and Visarjaniya it will make us 26, and it is equal to the Samapti. Therefore the Kram Samapti of value 26 and Kram of value 13 will help us appreciate that within 4 space 12 edged cube is having a degree of freedom of motion. It acquires a 13th edge. However, within 4 space, because of the spatial order available for it, this 13th edge in fact will acquire value 26. These are the features of this format of Kram of Ganita Sutra 1, Eka Adhikain Purve. The simple rendering working rule comes to be 1 more than before. It is a working rule. It is a working step. The name of this rule is the sequential ordering. Taking steps in a sequential order. And that order should be 1 more than before. Means number of the particular steps we have already reached, then take 1 step more. This 1 step more does not mean only 1 as a value. It is a 1 step and it is a subsequent another step. So this is to be appreciated. For this appreciation of the working rule of Ganita Sutra 1, we have to read it along with Ganita Up Sutra 1 Anurupen, which is symmetry, proportionate symmetry, following the form as it is framed. Therefore the sequence, the sequential order, as it is giving us a rule, as it is making this particular order of a reach from first entry to the second entry, from first step to another step, from given step to the next step. This as such gives us a symmetry. Therefore this rule, Ekadhiken Purven, along with Anupurven, will sequentially take us from Kram to Kramsha and from there to Kram Samapti. That means it will take us to, if we are in chasing along a particular sequential order, then this sequential order ultimately is to reach at its complete maturity. It will stop. It will reach the maximum. It's charam, it's a complete, the highest reach would be there. So starting with any sequence, taking the steps in terms of the sequential order of this particular sequence will, after infinite steps, at least at infinity, will come to its end fruit value. Therefore there would be samapti of it, there would be end of it, there would be end reach of it. One thing to be appreciated is that any sequential order with which we will be working, the whatever may be the rule of values or of formats or of a processing steps, taking from first step to the next step, taking from given step to the next step, this sequence when will be worked out, may it terminate, may it reach at its end at a particular finite number of steps, or after all at the end at the infinite step. So the sequential ordering may be of finite steps or may be of infinite steps. This is to reach at its conclusion. It is to reach at its end value. It is this end value, it is this end fruit of every sequence which is to be appreciated, which is to be comprehended, which is to be imbibed. One is to be face to face with this particular feature, that every sequence with whatever the rule of reach from a given step to the next step, it is ultimately to reach at its conclusion, its culmination, end fruit. There would be end fruit value, there would be end reach value, there would be end attainment value for every sequence. Whatever the sequence may be, whatever may be the sequential order, what may be the rule of a reach from a given value, given step of the sequence to the next step of a sequence. This ordering, this sequencing will be, this sequential reach will be of end fruit value. There would be a conclusion. This is a Kram Samapti. Then these can be two types of, there would be one of a sequential increasing and another would be of sequential decreasing. It is like availing the format of an interval or a circumference or any format, whatever it is, from beginning to end. So if there are pair of ends, then reaching from one end and proceeding, progressing towards the another end, or starting from the another end and reaching to the first end. So starting from beginning, reaching up till the end, beginning from the end and reaching at the end as a beginning value. So this Arohi Karam and Avrohi Karam, it would be like going from 1 to 2, then to 3 and so on, or it may be reaching from n to n minus 1 to n minus 2 and so on. Therefore minus infinity to infinity will be a way of approaching in one orientation or approaching in another orientation. So Arohi Karam and Avrohi Karam. After this, when we were realizing that any sequence, whatever this sequence may be, this is to have a beginning and it has to have its end. And reach from beginning to end is to be in a number of steps. And those steps are to be in terms of the order, the sequential order of reach from one step to another set of that particular sequence. So every sequence, whatever it is, and whatever may be its beginning point, and whatever may be its sequential order value for reach from one step to the next step, and it is to be of a end reach value. So once it is of a end reach value, it amounts to that one axis, one dimension, or one particular format is complete. Once it is complete, we know that the linear order would be complete by it. But we are having a spatial order as well. We are working on a varga. We are working as two space. So there are surfaces with us. So if we're working with a point, it exhausts itself in a sequential linear order and makes a single axis. However, when we were taking the entire this reach from beginning to end, say of a linear unit, and when this becomes a unit, then the number of lines will be creating for us a surface. It would be sequence of sequences. It would be infinite infinities which will be creating a surface for us. Therefore, there would be a catastrophe. There will be an explosion. There is to be a visfot from the end reach point for breaking that particular order, transiting from that particular order and entering the another order. It is called Utkarman. This is Utkarman. After the visfot, there is a transition and transformation. The linear order on which the point is on a creation roll makes a sequence. Then after reaching at infinity, once it is exhausted, then it is here if we have to go for the second axis, there has to be transition from here for a transformation so that the entire line as a unit would be creating for us a surface. It is Utkarman. This formulation Utkarman, once we are to work with this particular feature of sequential format, then let us revisit this particular formulation Utkarman. Utkarman is the formulation which means transiting from, transcending from. Utkarman. It is value 3, it is 4, it is giving us a value 3, but when Ka is a Brahma, it will give us value 6. When Ref is of its full expression form, it will add further two values, it will become 8. Here it would be 10, here would be 8, here would be 30. See, 7, 10, 20, 28 and 13, 41. Here we'll be reaching at 44. Here we'll be reaching at 46. This Utkarman, it will be taking us to value 28, which is equal to the Brahm. It is a Brahman value. Now it is this value which means when we have starting originally with the value 6, then we are reaching value 28. It is just like when we are reaching from Ganita Sutra 1, then we are reaching at Ganita Sutra 2, which is Nikhlim Navasta Charmam Dashata of the 28 letters. It is a reach from first perfect number to the second perfect number. There is a transition from here to here. First perfect number avails triple proper divisors. This second perfect number avails 5 proper divisors. So there is going to be a transition from 3 to 5 in terms of the features. Values 3 and 5 are coordinated as 3 space as dimension of 5 space as domain. Like that, there is a transition. So the sequential reach is ultimately going to be reached up till its end reach value. Thereafter, there is to be Visfort. There is to be an explosion. Visfort means a value 28, 29. This value is the value of a Brahma. That means the reach will be that this force space with its origin, transcendental origin, is taking us to base of manifestations. So there is to be a transition from a given order, a spatial order of force space, to solid order. Therefore, these dimensions, these dimensional orders, as these are, deserve to be approached, deserve to be visited, deserve to be imbibed in the light of all these concepts. Now, from here, when we go to Sankarman, means when we are transiting with an explosion, there could be a Sankarman. Sankarman actually means, that means it gets a virus. It doesn't work. This gets a virus. Means we are getting here a value 13, while previously for Ut we were getting value 7. We know 7 are the non-negative geometries of 6 space and 13 is a complete geometry's reach. This tells us, this brings to focus that when we are working for any order, then it will be one-sided oriented. To going another side, we have to reverse the orientation. Whole cannot be covered. Infinity to infinity is not to be covered. It is to be covered with 2 as a 1 or 1 as a 2. That means half is the unit, the working unit, which is to be availed. If we don't avail, if we avail always the full unit, that means after the explosion, we will not be in a position to manage that. We will not be in a position to chase that. Therefore, if we are along one axis, we reach at its end value and there is an explosion there is going to be transition there is a catastrophe there, and we have to reach there further. That means we are from linear order, we have to reach in a spatial order. Once we are reaching in a spatial order, that means the working unit will be 2. Therefore, 2 as 1 is to be approached, or the 1 would be actually of value half. So the practical working rule would be half. Therefore, to be understood is when Utkarman is there, when explosion is there, when that catastrophe is there, when Visfort is there, then it would be a situation that if unless and until it is managed in a creator's space along a spatial order. So this Utkarman is to be managed along a spatial order, which would mean that we have to work with 2 as 1, or that 1 is to be taken as a half. Therefore, once we will working along a single dimension, and when there is an explosion and we are reaching a spatial order, then mean this spatial order as it is will be giving us a pair of dimensions of half dimensions. Therefore, half unit is to be worked out. Out of this pair of half dimensions, this pair of half dimensions frames, only we have to work with one of it. It is this feature which is to be observed fully. One shall make it a specific note in our formats values compendium, as that when the end reach and fruit reach of sequence is reached, and when there is an explosion, when there is a transition, and when we reach the second dimension, then it will amount to that we're transiting and transforming from a linear order space 3 space to a spatial order 4 space. So the working with 4 space would mean working with a spatial dimensional order. So the pair of dimensions, a dimensional frame as it is of pair of dimensions, will split and will make it into a pair of two space dimensions of half order. Let us have a pause here. Let us make a specific entry here that when we are reaching from line to a surface, in fact we are reaching from single dimension to pair of dimensions. This pair of dimensions, if we'll view, it splits into a pair of frames of half dimensions. So this single dimensional frame is taking us to the pair of dimensional frames, but each here is of half dimension and it is of a full dimension. It is this feature which is to be absorbed. Unless and until we appreciate this, then we start working after the explosion, after Utkarman. If we start working, then we are bound to be met with Sankarman. This is the feature which is to be appreciated. That if we are from Ut means 7, San means 13. If we are transiting from 7 to 13, when we are reaching this, means there are 13 geometries of 6 space, of which 7 are the non-positive and the complete range is of 13. So if we try to work with the entire 13, that means we are bound to get virus with this sequence. This sequence order will be unmanageable. It will go spoiled. So to avoid that, we have to work with half. So it is this feature which is to appreciate. The further thing to be appreciated is that when we will be reaching from a linear order to a spatial order, then in fact we are reaching from line to a circumference. Therefore, here the role of a line will transit into a circumference as infinitely long line gets circulated at infinity. The line, howsoever long it is being taken, and when we reach at infinity, the both endpoints at infinity meet and it becomes a circle. It becomes a circumference. Once we are here, that means while we are working with the sequential orders, then we have to ultimately make this order into a circular order. For it, illustrative is of a soap curve. We see the word, it gives 3, 7, 5 and 1. Now this order, when it is put in a circular format of 1, 5, 3 and 7. Now it is put in this way. So we can reach along the axis like that. It will be giving us 1, 3, 5 and 7. These are the values, quadruple values of the Anthastha letters, Ya, Ra, La and Va. It is to be appreciated. A specific note is to be given that when we are transiting at the end reach value of a given sequence and we want to transit to the next order, to a spatial order, that means we are in fact transiting from line to circumference. And once we have this thing, then we see its organization is of a pair of axes. So we have to first exhaust the first axis, then we have to exhaust the next axis. It is this order is to be maintained, and it is soap. This is soap crumb. It is this particular sequence. This sequence is to be appreciated. This feature of the sequencing is to be featured. It is this of the Devanagari alphabet letters as well are carrying and preserving many format features. Values, formats, both are being availed for the settlement of the script of the Devanagari alphabet letters. Here in soap crumb, we have reached at the Anthastha letters, quadruple letters, their values and their format. So both value and formats of Anthastha letters as such are the values and features which are inherently embedded and being availed in the Sopkram. The next is the Nirupkram. This Nirupkram takes us to the values like this. It is see the values. It is 8, it is 2, it is 3, it is 6, it is 5, and it is 1. See, when it would be put in order, then 1 and 8 will come nearer points. These values 2, 3 and 6 and this value 9. Now it takes us from the previous features, but here there is again going to be an explosion. Means if after one explosion we are transiting and reaching from linear order to the spatial order, then this very rule will not apply when we will go to the solid order. It is this message. So this is value Shaw, this is Saw, this is Shaw, this is Haw. These are the Ushmana letters. These Ushmana letters, and we are having a value 5 which is to be accommodated as law. So it is the end Maheshwara Sutra, 14th Maheshwara Sutra. We will be coming to it. Therefore the Nirupkaram means the reach of infinite infinities. If we want to transcend still further to reach at another form, then it is going to be that if we are having x is 1 as value 1, if we have value y value 2 and value z as value 3, then we can start here 1, 2 and 3. But if we start from here, it will have 1, 2 and it will become 3. Therefore, we can make the third axis as the first axis. Then it is this format which will be coming into play. And for it, we can take a note that formulation 1, which has meaning 1, formulation 2, value 2, and 3 value 3. But here the TCV value is 8, here TCV value is 16, here TC value is 8. It is this that we are reaching from one end point to another end point, and then coming from second end point to the first end point. So we are getting value 8 and 8 and 16 here. It is this is a Nirupkram. So all these features are to be availed, simultaneously available, and being simultaneously availed, which have been ultimately embedded in this dimensional synthesis values table. Dimensional synthesis values table is to be appreciated, it is to be approached, it is to be worked out, and this would be a blissful exercise to reach that how single value, double values, triple values, quadruple values, fifth values. If it is of a linear order, then it would be value 1, 3, 6, 10, 15. But if it is of a spatial order, it will be value of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like that. So if we have to reach here at the value 3rd, then the progress, whatever it is here, the sequential change what it is. So these are infinite. This sequence is infinite. At each step has its own role and its order. Then there is a second sequential order, reach. From this sequence to this sequence, at each step, if it is a increase of value 1, it is increase of a value 1. There is increase of a value 2. There is a decrease of value 2. So by this rule, if we want to reach at the next solid order, by this rule we will make it 3. we'll make it 5, it will remain say 6, it all become a 6, and then here when the difference is 5, it will give us 5, so it will work out third. So to be appreciated that the Vedic systems have successfully tamed infinities. Firstly, the infinite range as an infinity is worked out, is arranged, is organized, is manifested, and it is established as a unit, as a single sequence, a linear order sequence. Then after the explosion, then it is to reach a second, and it is to reach with the value of the spatial order, and it will give us this order. And henceforth, the same difference values at each of the infinite steps are available to reach sequentially. It is this way, and if you want to in opposite orientation, by subtracting -1, subtracting -1, 0, subtracting, adding 2, adding 5, so we will be reaching at value 0. Therefore, here by this feature, we are reaching at these values. So, reaching from one linear order to 0 order and above, or reaching from this order, spatial order, to solid order and reaching above, it would be available. Further, we will see that if we are to work out, these are the positive number of dimensions. If to work up to the another half of the negative number of dimensions, then same way we will get in a reflection image here, and it is this feature which is to be taken as exercises. One shall sit comfortably, one shall work out as blissful exercises to chase this particular table, the table of dimensional synthesis values, and to see how on first principles we have reached at this particular table, then how this table is giving us this particular order, a particular order in terms of there is a transition from one to the another order. Any pair of consecutive orders can be worked out and reached in terms of this value emerging to be, and this way when we have to work out, we have worked out only the positive things. Then after the positive, if we want to do the negative, then it would be as if we were working at a half unit. We are working in terms of a soap crumb. We were working in terms of Nirup Karam. Then it is this working. It is this working which is to be appreciated and to be worked out, said the Utkarman does not reach into Sankarman. So to avoid Sankarman, we have to stick to the Utkarman and for managing it in terms of reaching from linear order space to a spatial order space. Then we have to work from a unit as 1 to unit as a half. So this reach from a unit working for linear order and on half unit working the spatial order, and then in terms thereof managing to work through solid and all orders, maybe positive, maybe negative, maybe 0. It is this feature, it is this value, it is this phenomenon which is to be appreciated, which is to be comprehended, and for it in our formats values compendium we have to make a very exhaustive note as that how these sequential progressions take us to the end reach value, how at the end reach value there happens to be an explosion, there happens to be catastrophe, and with that how we manage that, and how for that management we take from unit as 1 to unit as a half. And it is this order, it is this feature, it is this mathematics, it is this organization, and it is this way the pure values are being availed as applied values as a practical working steps. And it is how we are reaching from our 3-space linear order space mathematics and technologies to our creative order 4-space mathematics and technology by simple a shift from a unit as 1 to a unit as a half. It is this working, it is this simultaneous reach, it is this attainment of the Vedic mathematics and Vedic systems which deserves to be absorbed fully. And it is with these absorptions from the next we will be taking up how the black matter is being superimposed by the light is being managed for the reach from the linear order space, our physical world, to our creative world, and then to the transcendental world. Thank you very much.